Warm welcome to you joining us today from wherever you are in the world. Whether you are a seasoned developer or just beginning to explore the vast landscape of mobile development, today's webinar promises to offer valuable insights to you all. As we are diving deep into the dynamic world of mobile DevOps, a realm that continues to evolve and redefine the mobile industry, we're here today with two of our experts who I don't think anyone else would be able to better guide us through this very instrumental thing that is redefining and shaping this very landscape. So I'm thrilled to announce two of my colleagues and two of Bitrise co-founders with their distinguished roles as CSO and CTO. Daniel and Viktor both possess a wealth of knowledge and firsthand experience in the space. Today, they will be sharing their visionary insights, offer tips, and even reveal some trade secrets, if you may, on how to elevate your mobile development strategies to unparalleled heights of success. Before we get started, though, I have a question to all of our listeners today, which is, how many of you have faced challenges while integrating mobile DevOps into your mobile development processes? I would like you to think about this as we journey together into solutions and strategies over the next hour. And hopefully you will have some answers to your questions revealed soon. To kick us off, let's start way back when, the very beginning of it all, because maybe some of you, like me, have wondered why Bitrise, and why have you guys decided to start with it being a mobile DevOps platform? Daniel or Viktor, maybe you guys can shed some light on this topic.
Yeah, Daniel, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually didn't want to start with a mobile DevOps platform. I think that came a bit later. We were working on mobile apps, right, in an agency. Viktor was one of the bosses in the agency, and also a developer, and you know, we just didn't have anything from a mobile CI/CD perspective that we deemed sufficient for our needs. So that was the first thing, that was the first problem that we wanted to solve. And then we created a product out of it, and it seemed like others had this same issue, and then it skyrocketed from there. But later on, as we scaled the platform and a lot of people joined our journey, it seemed apparent that all across the DevOps lifecycle, there are these unique challenges that comes with mobile development and mobile DevOps in general.
Yeah.
In fact, there wasn't even a thing like mobile DevOps. So it was DevOps, and that kind of encapsulated a bunch of practices, but a lot of those practices are not really applicable to mobile, right? So we started with testing, the deployment, but actually how you do test, how you do deploy, and how you release your application is widely different, and comes with very different challenges from what has been kind of the norm on the market, let's say, for web app development or traditional software development. So we wanted to start tackling those challenges in a wider way, and basically provide a solution which helps across your tool chain in a specific way, and not necessarily applying this kind of generic know-how or generic standpoint that other solutions might do, but actually listening to those unique challenges and then creating products and solutions for those problems.
Yeah. I think listening to you speak now, you know, what comes to mind also is testing, for example, for mobile. It's so different to what you have, you know, if you're developing for web, and we hear that from our consumers all the time. So that actually is a nice lead into our next question here, which is, you know, it's so niche, and navigating this landscape for mobile development with specialized tools and insights means that we're really like having a mobile first focus as Bitrise as a company. And we've continually evolved our platform to meet these specific needs of mobile developers, starting with the launch of Bitrise CI to automate and scale testing. But what would you say, like, since you guys have started and since this journey has developed, what makes Bitrise the solution that it is today?
Right.
Viktor, maybe you can help us with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, building on the story that Daniel said, like, it's no longer just CI. We started there because we had a problem. We wanted hassle-free, no maintenance CI environment. But essentially, we wanted to automate things because it sounds fancy that we had a mobile development agency, but we were like 10 people. So we wanted to maximize our own efficiency and we wanted to automate things. And we couldn't find any tool for that. So that's where we started. And obviously, as we worked on our own projects and also as we worked with customers, users, we learned a lot and we found common pain points and problems which come up when you develop a mobile application while developing, deploying it, etc. And so over time, we built out more and more functionality to help you through the whole process. On top of CI, we also now went into insights, which helps you to monitor your CI, builds and tests and even more things. And then we are also helping you to boost the performance of your builds and tests with Bitrise Build Cache, and with Bitrise Release Management, we also help you to coordinate your releases. So all of these pain points were things that we found throughout the years while we were working with customers and in this space. Yeah, and we wanted to help with those.
Yeah, it's also something that I think I should just mention to some of our listeners here today is, you know, we have workshops on some of these solutions that Viktor just mentioned in our Mobile DevOps Summit. As you can see, we're all advertising this today as well. We have some cool speakers who will be giving workshops, some of our own product managers or solutions engineers and an array of other people. So please feel free to join. If there's any topic that you're very keen on and interested, have a search in the link. See if there's any talk that appeals to you, and please feel free to join any of the specific solutions workshops or any of the other ones. But circling back to what you just said, Viktor, you know, Insights, one of the tools that I'm representing here today on my shirt, is actually something that we've heard our community members rave about the full observability. I should still practice how to say that, into like everything in your mobile DevOps processes, and gaining that holistic view, and helping them to basically, you know, identify bottlenecks and I don't know, release faster and just, you know, seeing where your tests might fail, etc., etc. And those are some of the pain points that Insights is solving for our users. But how are some of the other features that you've just mentioned and touched upon, how do those ones solve our developer pain points as well?
So I think maybe I'll talk about why we started developing release management first, because I think that's a very fascinating story. I was talking to a bunch of mobile first companies, both from our customer group and beyond, on you know what they are dealing with, what you are dealing with in the audience, I'm sure. And the thing that came back a lot is that whole release process. And I was like, okay, but what is it about your release process? And everyone had a bit of a different answer, meaning that they had some different solutions, some different processes. But the common thread was that it's very convoluted. It involves a lot of people, and a lot of times it involves mobile developers who are not paid or there or liking doing some of these things to organize, you know, with stakeholders and get approvals and I'm actually coding and developing features or looking at user needs. having to do all of these things on a bi-weekly or even weekly basis in some cases. And that kind of creates this pressure cooker environment where, yeah, you need to get the release out, you have to follow all the processes, but it also has the quality so that you don't have to then patch that release and do a hot fix, which is also then fucks up your next one.
Chaotic.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it seemed like that if you can create some transparency and a standardized kind of process around it, where you can manage that whole thing easily, and you can have an overview of it, and you can always see where you are, what's coming next, who needs to do what. Then it's gonna get better. And of course, if you put automation on top of it, so you don't have to do all of the things that you need to do every week or every 2 weeks, bump the versions, cut the branch, whatever, it's gonna get better for everyone. So I think from that standpoint, that's there. But I'm sure, Viktor, you have some other highlights.
Yeah, I think it was a similar story for Insights, maybe not the same way we came to the realization that we should provide something for this, but a very similar problem, which is as you scale your mobile development team and efforts, things get more complex and harder. So if you do relatively few builds, you probably can guess the build time trends, the test trends, etc. But once you get to like a dozen builds a day, you kind of go into the territory where it becomes someone's job even to sometimes check it, anything going wrong. So with Insights, very specifically, we wanted to build a tool where even if you do hundreds or thousands of builds a day, you can still make sense of what's happening in the system. And also we built, which kind of also ties into this, that you will have bottlenecks, so you will have negative trends. But if you are dealing with a larger and growing number of builds and tests, like pinpointing those becomes a challenge. So we also built a feature which is called bottlenecks into the product, which tries to tell you, like, highlight those bottlenecks and also helps you to prioritize those, because it's not always that clear whether I should deal with a failing test or whether I should deal with this negative build time trend, how those compare, which one should I focus my efforts on.
Usually folks have been collecting all of this data in spreadsheets or in their own charting tools and cobbling everything together, and having to maintain that is not something that anyone should endure. So we think that it's very important that that's readily available, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like in my own experience with some of the tools that you guys have mentioned, release management and Insights, I know how that can help teams release faster. For release management, for example, I mean, beta testing and distribution is so much easier. It's less chaotic. Teams get quicker feedback. They can implement the changes faster, release to the App Store faster. The whole process is so much more seamless. And with Insights, to your point, Viktor, it's just the time it sometimes takes for you to identify a problem is from a minute to an hour. Sometimes you have to go through lines and lines of code to see where exactly that problem is. And I think that brings me to my next question, which is the business impact of these solutions. Yes, we are building tools that is made for developers, but ultimately, if you zoom out, the business impact is also humongous, right? And maybe you guys can talk me through some of these business impacts that you guys have seen, or people that you've talked to, and what that monetary element is for businesses looking to invest into a solution like ours.
I've seen a multitude of those, and sometimes with development, it's very hard to kind of connect up directly those dots to revenue or any other number. But there are some good leading indicators or proxy metrics even that one can use and that have been proven, such as we've seen a strong, like we did this MODAS report, which is your mobile DevOps health or maturity assessment. And there was this strong correlation between release frequency and user engagement in the application, which is very interesting. Like it basically means that if you're able to release at a certain cadence, it's around, I think, bi-weekly or weekly, then you're moving at a rate which actually keeps up or even like increases significantly your user engagement. And you can see that significant improvement once you are like quarterly releases to bi-weekly releases. Of course, it's not going to be overnight.
Yeah.
Then it starts becoming apparent. And just, empirically, if you think about it, what is on the App Store's front page, it's new versions, what's been updated and what's been new. And, in the app world, it seems like that's what users are looking for, those new experiences, more personalized, more instant. And, keeping up with that for someone or for a company whose business is relying on their mobile app or apps, I think that's not easy and to stay competitive. So eliminating all of that risk and lack of confidence in each release with something that you can buy off the shelf, I think that's just tremendous value. And then you can see in the numbers that you most care about, like user engagement or rating, that is gonna improve.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, this also means that when you have an issue in the application, when you get customer feedback, you can react faster because your cycle time is now shorter. And you can respond to customer feedback faster, which should help with user satisfaction and with App Store rating as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's business is impacted by how efficient the teams are. So having a quicker feedback loop is a thing that basically compounds, right? So we know for a fact that if you have long build times, then developers stand up, drink a coffee, do something else. And if you can significantly reduce the build time to a couple of minutes, which we've been able to do with our new build and test caching solution for some of the major build tools such as Gradle, Bazel, and Twist. That's something that is an order of magnitude change, right? It's not like a 10% or a 20% change. It's a step change into a direction, into a future where it's an instant feedback of what you've done just now and committed that code, whether that's good or not, and you have to go back to it. So that kind of shift left is becoming easier. We've seen in some cases where because a company like a fintech company was able to automate their security checks through Bitrise, the security team basically became closer with the development team, and it wasn't like the company that always the people that always said no. It was more like they are part of the team, and we work together with them to deliver something not just cool new features, but they also securely. So there are a lot of I could go on, but probably don't have time.
But maybe one more interesting aspect, which I was thinking because you mentioned MODAS, is the origin of the DevOps state of DevOps reports, which is there's a book as well which summarizes the whole research, which was like a 4 or 5 year long research sponsored by Google. The book is called Accelerate, and obviously the metrics are DORA metrics or DevOps metrics. So in that book, and again, this is now proven by research, I think we always felt that if the people have a streamlined experience during their work, that positively affects their productivity and efficiency. And during their research, they actually found correlation, so that streamlined development environment or development process leads to better satisfaction, employee satisfaction. And better employee satisfaction actually correlates with positive business results as well, based on their research.
Yeah, because I think we all know that, you know, what developers hate. Well, one of the things that they hate the most is context switching, right? Like, I mean, it breaks your concentration. It's just a mess if you have to do one thing or the other, and then, like, to your point, Daniel, you're making a cup of coffee here, and then, like, you lose track of what you were focusing on. So yes, you're making a good point, Viktor. Thank you for that. What also popped to mind is for example something like, you know, you having to, you know, go into the app and fix something. You know, business impacts are also about, you know, having a bug in the app with I don't know, a finance app or you know, fast moving consumer goods. Like I'm thinking of like a takeaway delivery app, where companies can actually lose money if a bug was introduced and people weren't able to fix it quickly. And I think that's something, yeah, where if you can release those fixes faster and you have like faster feedback loops, then your problems can also be resolved quicker. So yeah.
Absolutely. And even better if you can detect it before you release it.
Exactly.
That's
With
the point.
something like alerts, right? Like set up alerts in Bitrise Insights, and there you go.
Yeah, but if you think about it, like, you know, you don't just have to fix the issue that you released. You cannot pull it back. Like I can roll back a website version and just you know, revert it to the state where it was still good. You cannot do that with mobile apps. So it's the stakes are higher, and that makes everything a bit more risky.
Yeah, stakes are higher, and then you have to wait for the app stores, and like gets complicated, right? That's why, yeah.
I did hear a cool little practice that one company did, which is they always had this workflow set up, this automation set up to generate the previous stable version for them and send it to the store immediately if they get alerted with a faulty release. So they essentially automated the hotfix release process, which was before the days we had release management, with which I think this can be even, you know, better automated. But even with just workflows and the steps and everything that we've had in the CI/CD part, or we still have, they could do that, and I found that fascinating and very creative.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So thinking about, you know, the rapid evolving landscape of mobile development, and you guys having been in the industry for so long, can you maybe share some of your perspectives on how mobile DevOps will continue to shape the future of this industry in the next coming years or so?
Viktor, you want to take this?
Yeah, sure. So especially with the current trends, so I think it's not just mobile, but overall trends in the world. I think efficiency will be king in the next couple of years for multiple reasons. And as part of that, automation and data will be more and more important. So when you automate all your processes, and you can make database decisions, that significantly reduces your cycle time. AI will most likely more and more help with this, with automation. But the goal is still like the same thing, with or without AI, is to automate as much as possible and to increase efficiency and productivity. And related to this, it's also important that you have to monitor. That kind of goes into the data point as well, that you have to monitor and improve not just your app, but also your app development process, so that you know, you can continuously shorten the development life cycle and to improve the app quality.
Yeah. And then if someone were interested in this, you know, mobile DevOps landscape, and they might be interested in Bitrise, but not really in the technical aspects of mobile DevOps just yet, what other resources would you guys recommend they look out for, or, and where would they be able to find this? What would you guys say is a good starting point for them?
Shameless plug.
Yes.
The Mobile DevOps Summit. We've been doing that we're doing this for the second year because there is nothing like this exactly in the market. There are mobile developer conferences. There are a lot of them, and they are really good. And we are there talking to all of you and I love them. But nobody's really talking about mobile DevOps as a whole holistically and how that relates to the whole business really anywhere. And we think that it's very important. So I think it's going to be even better this time. We've learned a lot from last time, and we have just an amazing lineup for you for next week. So check that out. But also, like, we have, I think, a really good blog with a lot of tips. And we also have this YouTube channel, which does have a lot of videos around mobile DevOps and mobile development in general. And if you're interested in your own mobile DevOps health or maturity, there's also this health test that you can take on our website now. So similar to Quora metrics, but it measures more specifically towards that mobile DevOps aspect.
Yeah.
The modest one, absolutely a good call out. And also, just to make it sure, I wanted to highlight that the Mobile DevOps Summit isn't a Bitrise specific event. So when Daniel, you mentioned the lineup, like the majority of the lineup isn't Bitrise. Well, some of them Bitrise users, but still not Bitrise employees. They are happy users of Bitrise, or they don't even use Bitrise in some cases. So it's more about like gathering everyone from the industry who's interested in mobile DevOps and working together to make a good event, a virtual one, but still.
Yeah, maybe just to kind of circle back to the very beginning, one of the other things that we realized on the road is it's not just about the tooling that didn't exist or for mobile specifically, but it was the know-how and I think it still is very fragmented around mobile DevOps. So that's also another reason why we think it's important to have an event like this.
Yeah, exactly. For example, where you can learn about tricks, what you also mentioned with the immediately submitting the previous version of the app for, well, in case you need it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have some cool names as well. I'm not going to mention them here because I really want people to go to the website and check it out themselves. But we have some really big industry names. So yeah, please check it out. I think you guys have already answered this, but the next question that I wanted to ask was, why do you think it's important to use mobile-first CI/CD solutions as opposed to web-based platforms? You guys have mentioned already there's huge differences, but if there's anything that you'd like to add.
Well, we mentioned a couple, but I think I just want to put out there that I've been since we started doing this. Before I started this journey, I had way less idea about mobile development and the challenges that mobile teams, not just developers, but the whole team faces. And during these, I don't know, 10 years already that we've been working together with Viktor, I empathize a lot with mobile teams because, as I mentioned, the stakes are so much higher, and the competition and the requirements and the needs are such different and so heightened in the mobile world, so that whoever is very successful in the mobile market has to bring their A game all the time. Like and you cannot think about managing your build infrastructure and your stacks and updating Xcode all the time, and that breaking and all the dependencies and everything being flaky and unreliable and unstable. If you need to do that, then either you pay for someone to do it, which is not very efficient, or you or you try to roll your own kind of setup, but then you have to take care of the maintenance on your own, and it's, I don't think that's something that that is going to be very helpful for anyone if they want to be very successful and on the forefront of mobile. So I think, you know, our mission is to increase the impact of apps in the world, because we believe in this industry and what it can do, and you can only achieve that if you focus on the needs of the customers, on the needs of your users, and so you need the specific tooling, because for testing, for deployment, for releasing, for the reviews, for monitoring, for everything across, it's just a unique experience. And you know, when it comes to leading up to the release and having to, you know, cherry pick different features and functionality, and it's all very chaotic, and then you have to release and then it starts again. I think, you know, just good job everyone who's going through that every day. But I think that's why, you know, you shouldn't have to, even on top of that, worry about all the hassles that you would have to do otherwise.
Yeah.
Also, going back to the very first question a little bit, so where we mentioned that we had a problem and we were searching for solutions, and then from there, in the last 10 years almost now, we focused on the common problems which appear in mobile development, which are in cases significantly different than web. So if you go with a web-focused solution, they are doing the same, focusing on the problems, the most common problems they heard, but that will be for mobile, non-mobile projects. Those will be for how you deploy and how you test your web system. While we hear similar things, but for mobile, which requires a different solution in most of the cases. And then we work with the customers to have the solution which solves it for mobile projects and solves their problem. Because yeah, not all of the problems are even similar in web and mobile. For example, code signing isn't a thing in web, but it is very much can be a pain point in mobile development. So yeah, I think it depends on ultimately what you focus on and what you develop against.
Yeah, like when we were going through this, there were a couple of things that just jumped out, but then we had to take years to figure out how to solve those problems. For example, scaling Mac infrastructure is you can find a textbook that explains, or a blog post that explains how to do that. Maybe these days you can find something, but
yeah,
back in the day when Viktor used peer-to-peer networks to update stacks or whatever, that was not a thing. And then we had to, you know, scale it up and offer different stacks and then update those stacks. And those are not trivial things for on Mac OS. You can't Dockerize it. You can't do a bunch of things that you could do with Linux-based environments. And for everyone, one by one, having to do that on their own, I don't think that's very efficient. And then, you know, then it comes to stability, then it comes to performance. We invested years of research and development into creating the most performant build infrastructure that is out there for CI. So I don't think anyone wants to do that unless, I don't know, unless they're as crazy as us. But you know, and then, you know, when we did the workflow editor, we were like, well, mobile developers don't really want to do scripting all that much compared to like web engineers. Not to shame mobile developers, but that's not something that anyone wanted, and we didn't either. So that's why we created the steps. So it makes it easier to automate stuff, and you don't need as much technical expertise, or just makes it faster even if you have the technical expertise. So we kind of went like that. We automated code signing, so on. You know.
Yeah, by the way, related to scripting, it's not even just about whether you are efficient enough writing scripts, but very specifically things like, because we worked with a lot of mobile developers and we created our step, which is essentially a script, we saw the common failure patterns as well. And we worked with customers when they reported issues or when we found issues. And then over time, we made those scripts more and more robust so that come a new user, or essentially all the users, all the Bitrise users can benefit from it. So they just use our own script step, which already has, for example, multiple retry logics when the iOS simulator would fail to boot. But we also discovered and did some research how to recover from that failure. So if you have to write it yourself, you will need kind of like a very, very long time experience to discover all the edge cases that we already discovered and made it available in the form of a reusable step.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't have those experts in-house, which is also problematic. So yeah, I think one thing that you guys both touch upon is, yes, we solve things for developers, and we've done extensive research over the years to make sure that we build a product that is robust for people to use and find it, super useful as such. But it's also that what you mentioned, Viktor, is that we really turn to our communities to help inform us what we build. And we really ask people for help and input. And with our users, we shape our product going forward. This is something that I really love about Bitrise, is that we really focus on the people who we build the product for. And in saying that, I would also like to invite people to join us on our Slack and Discuss communities, where we are very open in keeping a transparent conversation about things that you might have problems with, questions. We have a bunch of experts in-house that are ready to help you with anything that you might struggle with. So please feel free to join those communities of ours. And if you're not a community person and you want to chat to someone face-to-face, we have a contact form on our site as well that you can fill in. If you have a specific problem question, you can do that. If you have a pricing question, you can do that. So yeah, we have ways that you can reach out to us. So please feel free to use those resources as well. And I think that kind of like wraps it up for me. If there is anything else that you guys might wanted to add, please feel free to do so. But other than that, I would just like to thank everyone who joined us today. And I will open up the chat now for any kind of questions that people want to ask. So if you have any questions for Daniel or Viktor, shoot it their way and they'll be happy to respond.